In Washington, D.C., all eyes are on Capitol Hill as Republican Senate leaders release their revised version of President Donald Trump's cornerstone legislation, the One Big Beautiful Bill, a sweeping tax and spending package central to his second-term economic agenda. As backbench skepticism simmers and party unity is tested, the GOP is racing against a self-imposed July 4th deadline to send the bill to the president's desk for signing. The bill is a legislative behemoth. It proposes extensive tax cuts, major spending increases in defense, energy, and border security, and deep cuts to healthcare and entitlement programs to offset the cost. At the core of the bill lies an extension of Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is due to expire at the end of the year. Senate Republicans now seek to make those cuts permanent, framing it as essential to sustaining economic momentum. But the road ahead is anything but smooth. The latest Senate draft includes harsher cuts to Medicaid, tightening eligibility, and imposing what experts are calling the strictest work requirements ever proposed for the federal healthcare program. Among the most controversial changes are mandatory 80-hour monthly work requirements for childless, non-disabled adults by the end of 2026. Additionally, adults with children aged 15 and over would also need to work or volunteer to remain eligible for coverage. Medicaid enrollees would be required to re-verify income and residency twice a year instead of once, risking the loss of coverage for millions who may struggle to meet the administrative demands. Another flashpoint is the reduction of provider taxes, which states rely on to fund their share of Medicaid. The Senate proposal lowers the cap from 6% to 3.5% by 2031, sparking resistance from lawmakers in rural states. To ease tensions, the draft includes a $25 billion rural hospital fund aimed at protecting essential services in underfunded areas. At the same time, the bill also fulfills several of Trump's key campaign promises. It would eliminate federal taxes on tips and overtime pay, and allow Americans to deduct interest on car loans, but only if the vehicle is U.S.-made. These are populist measures aimed at working-class voters and union-heavy manufacturing states. The Senate bill also makes concessions to moderates concerned about the current cap on state and local tax deductions, commonly known as SALT. The 2017 tax law capped deductions at $10,000. A move that hit high-income taxpayers in blue states the hardest. Under the new proposal, the SALT cap would rise to $40,000 for married couples with incomes up to $500,000, a temporary relief extended only until 2030. This adjustment may be key to swaying moderate Republicans from urban districts. Meanwhile, the bill increases the child tax credit from $2,000 to $2,500 per child until 2028, but with strict eligibility limits. Only families where both parents have Social Security numbers can qualify. This move is pitched as a pro-family measure, though critics argue it excludes mixed-status immigrant households. Despite all this, the bill's funding mechanisms remain under intense scrutiny. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the legislation could add nearly $3 trillion to the federal debt over the next decade. Republicans insist that economic growth spurred by tax cuts will compensate for the deficit expansion, though this supply-side rationale has been debated heavily by economists. One major divide between the House and Senate versions is on clean energy. Both chambers agree to end Biden-era green energy tax credits, but the Senate proposes a more gradual phase-out. Projects that begin construction this year could still receive full credits, scaling down over the next 2 years before vanishing in 2028. However, both versions include strict provisions that deny credits to companies with supply chains tied to foreign entities of concern, a clear nod to rising bipartisan concern over Chinese involvement in critical sectors. With negotiations intensifying, the coming days will be pivotal. Whether the Senate can reconcile its version with the House's, and whether it can do so in time for a July 4th signing ceremony, remains uncertain. As the clock ticks, the fate of the One Big Beautiful Bill hangs in the balance. an ambitious, controversial, and potentially defining piece of legislation for Trump's second term.